Okay, we're gonna get started as I hit the music. And then, how do I let
Sé que hay en tus ojos con solo mirar
need to hear, make it
que
louder?
estás cansado de andar y de
How
andar
do I get to the part
y
that says, how do I let everyone in?
caminar
Admit.
girando siempre en
Oh, here we
un
go.
lugar. Sé que las ventanas se pueden abrir, cambiar el aire depende de
Hi, everyone.
te
Welcome.
ayudará. Vale la pena una vez más saber que se puede, querer que se pueda, quitarse los miedos, sacarlos afuera, pintarse la cara, color esperanza, tentar al futuro.
I understood it was a little bit loud. Sorry. Welcome. Hi, everyone. We're excited to have you joining us today.
Mejor tentarse a dejar de intentar, aunque ya ves que no es tan fácil empezar.
Leah's doing the Latin shoulder. I love it.
All right, everyone. Welcome. You're here for First Wednesdays with Virginia Community Voice. My name is Dana, and I'm going to start us out just with a little introduction to the space, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Flo and Veronica, and they're going to do a question and answer style, and we're going to learn all about Hispanic community engagement, which is going to be great. Okay. And so, as you know, you're here for First Wednesdays. It's our lunch and learn series where we go through and we talk about common topics that we've gotten questions about from people who we've done coaching and training with, or from community members. And we think that y'all have an interest in learning about it. And so we wanted to create these spaces where we can still come together and talk as a network and a community of like-minded individuals. And we can share ideas, thoughts, and our experiences. And so that's where you are today. We're so excited that you're with us. I think that's the most people we've had. It's a lot of people. And so, which just indicates to me that this is something we're all needing to learn some more about. We've learned so much since Flo and Veronica have joined our team, and we're so lucky to have them. And I hope that you all take what they say and use it. And so without any further ado, I'm going to say here, welcome to Flo, and I'll let Flo introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Dana. So of course, when I'm supposed to talk, there's a big ambulance going. And so can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There's no ambulance sound on our end.
Oh, okay, good. So if you start hearing the I can't even hear myself, but I'll do my best. So I think I'm gonna have to 1 second. I'm so sorry. I can't hear anything.
That's totally fine. Take a moment. I'll introduce Flo for her. Flo is our oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her title right now. Flo is our Director of Equity Improvement, and so she heads up our coaching process for coaching and training. And whoops, I'm admitting some other folks. And so it sounds like, Flo, you're ready to go again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a hound dog that starts howling when the ambulance comes. So it was from two sides. I just couldn't hear myself and I got really overwhelmed for a second. But
okay.
So I'm the Director of Coaching and Training, or the Director of Equity Improvement for Virginia Community Voice. I am extremely excited to be here. Welcome, everyone. I manage a program that provides organizational equity help for institutions and agencies and nonprofits and anybody who's trying to improve their internal and external equitable practices, specifically when we're talking about community engagement. So this is a very, very important topic for us when it comes to Latinx engagement. There are many, many things that we have learned throughout the years, and that we apply every day in our grassroots programs, right? So we do the coaching and training with institutions because we have learned from being on the ground from decades of experience on field work and community organizing, what has worked for us and what hasn't, right? And in order to lift up the voices of the community and really have the community make their own decisions for their own vision for their lives and their neighborhoods and their, what matters to them, it is extremely important that we adapt to certain standards and certain spaces that culturally are more appropriate for certain folks. As Dana said, I am so excited. We work a lot around what demand, and when there's demand for a specific topic, it's very clear that we need to be doing it more. So I'm very excited to see almost 30 of you here. So I encourage you to reach out to me at the end of the presentation. You will have a slide with you probably already have it from the reminder emails, but if not, you have Dana's, which is just the same. But I encourage you and invite you to please reach out to me. Is that me? No. To please reach out to me with any increase about coaching or training, specifically if you're interested around the Latinx engagement. We have several different opportunities for you, including just laser coaching stuff. So please reach out and let's continue our conversations. So yeah, Vero, you want to introduce yourself and then we'll start kind of talking about what we've learned over the years?
Absolutely. I am Veronica Reed. It's an absolute be here. I am the director of the Leadership Academy at Virginia Community Voice. I'm an immigrant of 20 years. And during these 20 years, I have learned more about life than what I could ever learn. It is absolute privilege, I said, to be part of Virginia Community Voice, because I remember when I was working my master's in public administration, there were a lot of conversations about what not to do, but nobody was talking about how to do it, and I am just excited. So we welcome you. We love community engagement and connecting with our neighbors in the ways that are meaningful to them. It's not a burden, it's a beautiful job. Excited that you are here, so welcome everyone. Excited to talk about this because it really is of equity and inclusion. So that's a bit about me. I think then we start talking about the topic that we're here, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, and also I encourage you to ask questions. This is a learning session, not just us talking at you. So if you have questions, you can use the prompt for questions or just say it, whatever works for you on the chat, whatever works for you.
So yeah, Virginia Community real, and at times, we have some technical delays or stuff. That's why we want to meet you where you are. We want to remind that we are meeting each other where we are, right? So be yourself, right or a wrong question here. So we're just learning from each other.
I have a first question that everyone can answer in the chat. It's for our guests, for the folks who are here with us. If you could put in the chat, it's like probably our little icebreaker. What prompted you to come today? So if you would mind, yeah, just putting in your chat along with your name. We'd love to see who's here, even though I already know since you all registered, most of you. But for folks that don't get to see the behind the scenes, it'd be cool to see who we have here with us, and then also what prompted you to come today. Okay, I'm gonna head to the first slide. But it also looks like Flo. Flo, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, your camera went off. That's all.
Oh, my video went off. Okay, I'm sorry. So, Veronica, I'm gonna ask you some questions so we can learn more. So, where do you see many of the pitfalls from our organizations when trying to engage the Hispanic community?
Sure. This is something that we do occasionally, as we are human beings. So we are imperfect. We work in an imperfect world with imperfect situations and imperfect people, and we tend to forget that. So we have some ideas and we just want to do everything great, but we don't. And that's something that we want to invite each other to grow together. Down to translation, it is the same. We have the intention to be inclusive. Primal idea is that to consider the language barrier. Like if it's in English, I must put it in Mandarin if I want the Chinese, or if it's in English, the Hispanic community is not coming because they don't know the language. But that's a principle. It is not really a good foundation to expect. We need to go beyond translations, because ir más allá de la means that we have to dig deeper and go further to what just can be seen. If we just only stay in translate, well, we will have challenges to really meet. It's like if I'm going to the community to develop connections with this, and I'm not disabled, I might just really miss something. I need to ensure that I truly are, and that I consider my audience for. I truly listen, and I adjust my processes to this is intended. So we're talking about beyond translation, ir más allá la traducción. It's important to know that translators are trained to render a message from one language to another. Advocates, they might go beyond, but the reality is that trained translators, hello to hola, that's it. However, by doing hello to hola, we are transforming one message.
Veronica?
Yes,
Veronica, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Some folks are saying on the chat that it's breaking up. Is it breaking up for everyone? Is it breaking up when I talk as well? No? Okay. So maybe Vero, just Veronica. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So if there are gaps on what Veronica is saying, I can complete it by the end. Or do you want me to complete the slide, Vero?
Go ahead. I am actually particular place where I'm supposed to have good internet, but if it's breaking, I am just I will repeat a bit and we'll work.
Okay, so it is still breaking up, so I'll just go ahead and finish. One of the important pieces of really adapting to the cultural needs and the resources that are really needed to include the Hispanic neighbors are to, as Veronica was saying earlier, are to really meet them where they are, right? So some of the questions we received from you beforehand, and those who actually send questions beforehand, were how can I be a good ally, right? So part of the understanding, as Veronica was saying, is to make sure that we go beyond translating, right? So translating and interpreting is incredibly important, yet even more important is the cultural humility and the cultural adaptability that we bring to the situations, right? So being opening to really listening and learning. We, as we do with a lot of historically marginalized communities, we come in with agendas. I'm not accusing anybody. This is something I've done my whole career. And I'm, still kind of learning to abolish that within myself. But we come in with agendas and we have assumptions because the data has expressed what the needs of the communities are and what are their capacities to overcome their difficulties. We don't wait to listen, right? So cultural humility might sound quite simple, yet it's very powerful for us to be humble and understand that by building trust and taking our time with these communities, really just interacting with the communities more than setting up services for the communities and nothing else, then we will understand the barriers a lot better. So it's a lot like it would look like for any marginalized community in general, only that I would always suggest that we try to meet them where they are and what they need. So definitely language access is a huge thing. Hopefully the language access can be provided by somebody from the community, right? So sometimes that's not available, but if it is available to have a Spanish speaker who is from Latin America somewhere, that's going to completely change the cultural aspect, the trust building aspect, right? Of understanding our own culture. Sometimes even, and I think I'm jumping ahead, but that's okay. Sometimes even being able to, in organizations, if we can have more than, as we do, if we can have more than one person full-time or part-time who speaks Spanish or who is from a Latin American community, that is fantastic, because the Hispanic experience is incredibly diverse, and folks, Veronica and I are both from South America. We're actually both from Chile, yet we have workmates or teammates that are from Dominican Republic, for example. We have things in common, such as Spanish and some of the food and the dancing and the, being loud and passionate and whatnot. Yet there are so many things about our culture that we don't, that we need to kind of learn from each other. So it's important to also try to find some of that diversity, so there's real inclusion and representation. Again, the power needs to stay with folks, needs to stay with the people. They will be the experts in their own experience. So if I show up with humility, if I show up with the resources needed, such as language access and the capacity to meet them where they are, and with not like a very prescriptive agenda, then I'm going to learn from them, right? So things will include, for example, sometimes there will be needs for transportation. I mean, we have to ask these questions. If we want to do a listening session, some folks will need transportation if we're doing it in person. Some folks will need access and understanding of how to get online, right? So this is something I get really passionate when I talk about this. This is something that many of us don't perhaps think about it in our daily lives, and it's not our fault. It's just that we haven't been exposed enough. But the trajectory and the context of an immigrant who came to the United States in the conditions that immigrants usually, or folks who are trying to migrate, difficult circumstances, those circumstances are more brutal than we could ever even imagine, right? So the trauma to their nervous system, the trauma to their brains, their capacity sometimes to read and write in Spanish is limited, because the communities that they may come from might be super rural, to a point that they may not even have had access to electricity or to formal education, right? Some folks may actually speak a native tongue as their first language, and they may not actually be fluent in Spanish even. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you for helping and being patient. I do want to point out that we live in a diverse community, and diversity is diverse. And while there are people in our community right here in Richmond that might be white or African American that might not know how to read and write, the same applies for the Hispanic and immigrant community. We have people that are highly educated and people that didn't have access to education. But not only that, the biggest barrier are the invisible barriers, and the ones that go beyond the language. And when people migrate from countries where we have dictatorships, which is something that I personally experience, is completely different than when you come from a country where you only have access to third level education, or like we just have to be very cautious, because like when we go to the LGBTQ community, we have immense diversity, and that is important and also relevant in all communities. The Hispanic community is incredibly diverse, but the immigrant community itself is diverse. We don't want to narrow our vision. We just want to be aware about our own preconceived ideas that prevent us from really serving our community and meeting people where they are, if that makes sense. And one of the things that we often overlook is when we translate, what I was pointing out, and I hope you guys can hear me now better, is
Yes.
that we often just think about the language as a straight line from point A to point B. And language is not a straight line. Language is a vivid, moving, and an embedded aspect of culture, of social aspect, and identities, and millions of other things. So language alone it's not one thing, it's the sum of things. Language is embedded in other things that are often invisible. And we were talking about meeting people where they are. For instance, that sentence, meeting people where they are, it's difficult to translate, because while the words can be easily translated, it's a very short sentence, it doesn't work well in Spanish. So instead of using, it's not the technicality of using the correct words. And I think that's where most agencies unintentionally overlook at it. People want to go with traditional translators that are trained to render the message from one language to the other. However, the biggest overlook in the process is that we are missing the invisible barriers, the context, and how we really adapt to other forms. For instance, one of many projects we have worked is to work with Virginia Museum of Science. So I told the community, don't translate. Please pause before you put your funds in translating. Help us to work with you and do some consulting so that your language is simplified. It really meets people where they are. The language is understandable by the community we want to serve. And not only the language, but the forms, the way we connect with the community truly works for the community we want to include. And that means to be open and to be genuine about it, and to be willing to adjust to other needs and adjust the forms. If we continue to tell people, well, I go to the online, and people are overwhelmed with online procedures, or might not now, or not feel comfortable because of other historically oppressive environments, we are not delivering, even if we have the best of intentions. So it is not an exact equation, and that's very important to know. But if we put the effort and we truly are attempting to meet people where they are, and we listen, we will be surprised to how much we will learn, and how much this is not going to be a burden, that we can't just put all the funds in translating, because it's going to be a mistake, in that it's not going to be enough to truly meet people and truly develop long-term accountability, engagement, role modeling. I mean, we need to truly role model leadership. Even if we talk about leadership, people cannot always relate to leadership if they're in countries that have been, the leaders are considered the leaders of the gang members. And I think that, for instance, Leah had an amazing example in terms of when we go to the community and we have this best intention, sometimes we don't deliver. Leah, can you share a bit about your awesome experience with foster care?
Yeah, sure. I think it's everything that y'all are saying. So for those who I haven't met, my name is Leah Whitehurst Gibson. I am the executive director for Virginia Community Voice, and I think the points that and that the things that I've learned from Flo and from Veronica and from our other staff that are from the larger Latinx diaspora has just been a really beautiful lesson for us in how to slow down and how to think through things. But one of the things that we, our work is community engagement. That is what we do, right? And to Veronica's point, when you think about community engagement, a lot of times we think about it as someone who was born here in the States, and we have all of these ideas about freedom and voice and everybody standing up and able to say what they need, and your voice needs to be, and your vote matters and your voice matters, and all of these things for engagement, right? That is our as Americans and as people who are families that have lived here for generations, ends up being like the way that we think about things. And so one of the examples that I've given, but I think about, as Veronica was talking about, people coming from countries that have had, dictators and places where we start talking about, yeah, your voice matters and your what you have to say matters. And people are like, listen, where I come from, if I start saying stuff, that's potentially a way for me to get killed, right? If I start speaking my mind and saying things, that's potentially a way for my family to get killed. And so when we talk about the invisible barriers that Veronica was mentioning, those are some of the invisible barriers that we're talking about. So there's a lot more work to do to engage people and understand that experience. So that includes a lot of really deep listening and all of that stuff. And so one of the examples that I gave when we were preparing for this was my partner and I are foster parents. And when we first got, we got 3 kids at once. A few years ago, they were siblings, and they were all under 5 years old. And we were overwhelmed, and it was a lot to have that many kids at once. And so, obviously, because we want kids to be outside and have fresh air, we would take them to the park. And we would say, okay, go play. And they would sit next to us and not go and play. And we're like, guys, we're at the park. It's time to play. Go play. And they were just like, they just couldn't really fully understand what we were talking about. And like, they understood what a park was and how to go play. But what we realized after some training is that, maybe they had never experienced playing independently at a park. And so our work was to teach them how to play. And what we learned, right? So it wasn't just a like, oh, we're teaching you how to play in kind of a paternalistic way. We had to understand, we had to listen deeply. We had to understand the background that they were coming from and be able to address that specifically, and then work with them as a learning experience for both of us to figure out how to move things forward. And so it's a similar concept as like, we have to learn from the communities that we're working with, in particular, people coming from, again, the diaspora across the world, and immigrating to this country, or, any ways that people get here, to think about all of those background things, those invisible things that we can't see. I didn't know. I grew up going to parks and playing. So I didn't have an understanding of what it would mean to go to a park and kids not play. And so I think that's the same concept as we're learning from the community, but they had to teach us that, right? The kids taught us that lesson, and then it was a lesson that we then could pass on. And so it's a similar conversation when we're talking about engaging with communities. We both have to learn from them and have spaces where we can support, walk alongside, and help people understand kind of and see those invisible barriers that it's sometimes hard to see in those spaces. And so that was kind of the analogy that Veronica attached to so deeply, when it was like, oh yeah, it's both a learning experience for us and something that is a learning experience for the community as well. And so coming back to kind of that analogy of like, oh, we have to learn to use our voice. That's a process, right? And it's not something that every community has access to.
Yes, and following with the same, when I was given an example of the Virginia Museum of Science, we had to truly discuss the resources and how do we connect with the Hispanic community. This community is not inclined to go to the museums because of other barriers white privilege and other oppressive environments that are not necessarily created by anybody in particular or in purpose as of today, but they will impact the outcome. So we want to be mindful of the barriers. When we're talking about come here, I had in this case to truly make personal, calls, and not just don't send emails, not because they are not well intended, but they're not going to deliver the message of welcoming that we need. Many people don't know how to use emails. They're overwhelmed. They are working 2-3 jobs. So we just want to consider the context. So when we point out that be mindful, we want to consider the culture we are inviting. When we talk about barriers, the invisible barriers, transportation, is this a safe place? We know that Richmond has some barriers. We have a history of redlining. We have some true issues that impact people day to day today. So to be very clear, in this case, we had to adjust the form, how you connect with the Hispanic community, not just, okay, we're going to translate. I said, no, we're going to translate at the end. How we do community engagement, instead of doing emails, I did WhatsApp calls. I did one-on-one meetings to ensure that people will feel welcome, understood how to get there. I did a video to ensure that people knew where to park. I took pictures and I was available. And yes, it is additional work, but it's a beautiful work that we're doing. And it's exciting. It's beautiful to truly meet people where they are. Because at any point, we might be in the other side of the table. And we might need someone to truly include us and listen to us. So if we go to, let's say, I work with homeless population, and a lot of people treat homeless people incredibly poorly. And I have learned so much from homeless people, not because I want to just say how great I am, but the homeless population might be unhoused, but they have incredible skills, and they know how genuine you are, and they know many things that we people that are housed might not know. So there is beauty and mutuality, and this beauty in learning in both directions. And any new community that we are that have been oppressed, excluded, and continuously discriminated against, it is the beauty of sitting down, listening, and being open to our own barriers, and being I'm learning, like I am Latina, and I don't feel reflected. I don't like when people say Latinx, for instance. I consider myself South American, Latino Americana, and there are people that lose Latinx, and I also have to be equally open to that. The fact that I could never even put myself to that, and how we cross bridges in a place that builds trust with long-term leadership skills or long-term outcomes. I think that is the exercise, just going beyond like, oh, we're going to translate, and there is nothing wrong with it. However, we are missing the most important aspect of it if we only put the resources there. And I think that is something that agencies do often, unintentionally, continuing to not necessarily discriminate, but exclude out of lack of experience or lack of understanding at times. How we do the experience cannot be replaced. When I start working with homeless people or foster care and other people, when I got out of school, I had one idea and I thought I knew it all. And then I learned that I'm not. I have so much to learn, and I'm always learning new things. And that's the power of continuously meeting people where they are, where we are understanding our own barriers. I continue to miss the boat at times, and not intentionally, but always learning, and there is beauty in that. And I just don't want people to only get overwhelmed or see the process as an end result, as oh my God, no, it's beautiful. We are all in becoming better human beings and developing a fabric of human inclusion that has and we're part of it, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't have to be taxing. We just have, if we take the time to pause and consider truly meeting people where they are, we are going to be so much successful, and it's not going to feel like a burden. It feels like an awesome experience. Like, for instance, the beauty about after, yes, it was immense work, But knowing that people went to Museum of Science, people that never been downtown, that never felt comfortable even entering to the museum, when you see those people, when you just see one person, it's incredibly beautiful. And I want everybody, all of you, to have that beauty and to experience that space of, yes, we're doing it, and we are not exhausting all our resources in just one area, but we are truly creating a more just and open and diverse and inclusive community, because that is true leadership. The beauty is not just bringing people to the museum and off we go. The beauty is that we are truly putting down barriers that are incredibly painful for community, parts of our own community. We are creating spaces of growth, and that person that just went to the museum is going to go downtown the next time, or might go to a park next time. And the power we have with our presence and our focus is so underestimated. So never get so tired that you forget the power and the beauty you have as a human being. And I'm just being honest, the beauty of presence and the beauty of unconditional love or presence is something that empowers us all, and it's unreplaceable. And it might be too deep, but it's the truth. When we are met where we are, we feel loved and included. I want to be included. I'm sure that we all want to be included. I myself make mistakes, of course, and at times I might not include everyone, or I myself feel excluded. And I just want to go back and be in the fabric of growth, and be in the fabric of, okay, I'm learning, and it's so beautiful. It cannot be underestimated when you are present and genuine. And there was a question in the question that you guys sent, how where I should go, or as a white person, as a representing being a white female, how do I present myself in the Hispanic community? And I want to point out that there is no equation here. There is no like at 3 o'clock you need to be in this corner, and at 7 you need to be here. There is not an exact location. There is not an exact formula that says, well, 3 hours of training, 2 minutes of kindness, and 5 minutes of translation will do it. It's not. But if we show genuinely, if we are truly present, and we are truly genuine, there's no language barrier. The language of love is it's universal. And the same I say with a homeless population. There's no language barrier there for the majority of the cases that, for instance, I have worked, but people treat homeless people incredibly poorly, and the homeless people will feel it. But when there is one genuine person, that genuine person, when you are truly present, fully present, and you reserve, you, I, me, and everyone else, we reserve judgment. We truly reserve judgment. That's
So-
when continue to go further and diminish the barriers.
Thank you, Veronica, so much. I wanted to make sure that we get through the last slide before we open it up for Q&A. So if we could talk a little bit about this, really appreciate your feedback. So one of the things that folks wanted to know is also about lived experience, right? So where do you think lived experience fits when engaging with the Hispanic community? Is it important that we are centering lived experience? What are the some of the steps that people can take into the organizations when it comes to centering lived experience in Latinx community?
I think it's a great question. There is a shortage of bilingual people. I just want to point out that talking Spanish, it's not the same that doing advocacy for the Hispanic community. It's the same than, for instance, Tiger Woods. He's a Black man, but he doesn't do advocacy. He represents the golf but he would not be a good example to do advocacy for the Black community. So coming back to the issue here, the question is, there is not one Hispanic experience. We have a very diverse and never exhausting set of experiences, and it's incredibly important when agencies will hire people. The first thing people do is to think about education. And I value education as much as anybody else. I love education and I propose education, support education, all that. However, education alone it could be a good stepping point, but I think the most important aspect is not the education, is the experience we have had. I myself think I've made a mistake because I went to pursue further education, and my skill has been incredibly impacted by the fact that I experienced what it means to be an immigrant and to be undocumented and to experience all these other things. That has really taught me more than anything I could have gone to college. Any class, I actually took a class of conflict resolution for that matter, but I have never learned more in anything for more than I loved studies and stuff like that. The lived experience is unique and it's crucial. When we are hiring people, we want to consider the lived experience because it will impact how people perform their duties. Talking Spanish is just one very small aspect. But if we have people, same when we do LGBTQT, we just having a degree, it's not the same than having experience what it really feels to be, let's say, hungry, what it feels to be bullied, what it feels to feel excluded and to go through the pains and hardships that come with life themselves. So this is not a way of excluding education at all. It's a way of opening our eyes to the relevance and center our search, if we will, to people that have that lived experience, that have the heart in the right place. And it's hard to measure, right? It's hard to measure. How can you put in a resume, I need people that have the heart in the right place? But there are things that we can do. We want to point out that we value lived experience, that we go to the places where we want people to like people that we want to serve. Let's say South and Richmond, we want to go to those places and be there present. And we also want to, let's say, for instance, include lived experience welcome or for this position. And we also want to continue to meet people where they are. For instance, if you guys want to hire for the Hispanic community, talk to people that are doing the job and that they're doing it well. Let's say you can go to Radio Poder, for instance. You can at Radio Poder, which is a Christian radio that's been in Richmond for over 15 years. That is incredibly valuable for the Hispanic community. But I said it's not an exclusive list of things that we must do. But if we are mindful and we truly want to do a good job in delivering the community, to the oppressed communities, whether that is immigrant, Hispanic, LGBT, or any other, we have a duty to consider the absolute irreplaceable need or the absolute irreplaceable aspect of the lived experience. Lived experience, it's equitable to degree and even more. Again, this might be upsetting to some people. I do believe in education and I value education, but lived experience is not replaceable and it cannot be really necessarily taught in books. It's not the same to talk about what it feels to be hungry or to be cold than to actually live it. So I think we want to be mindful and when we are hiring people, that we go beyond I want you to be bilingual. And I value you as a bilingual person, but I also want to ensure that we hire people that have that lived experience because it will make a difference. They are those connectors. Those are the people that know how to do the job and they are in the trenches, and they have been in the trenches, and they are required leaders. They might struggle to apply to the jobs if we just put in the standard platforms, but they will be required heroes.
Thank you so much, Vero. So we hope that this has been helpful for you all. We still have a few minutes, and it'd be great to get your questions and engage in some dialogue and support you in concerns and interests and questions that you may have regarding this topic right now. So please ask away. If there's any comments, questions, concerns.
If I could say one thing about the lived experience piece, as someone who hires on a regular basis, I know that many of you have lots of places where you're trying to hire, trying to be more present, trying to do all of these things, and all of the tips that Veronica and Flo have offered are a big part of the way that we think about things at Virginia Community Voice, from making sure that we are engaging with different experiences from different places, like just like the Black community is not a monolith, the Hispanic community is not a monolith, right? And so having various experiences helps us serve the community better, right? I think also from the job description, one of my first jobs in organizing, I remember seeing on the job description, people of color are encouraged to apply for this particular job. And that really changed my like vision of that job. Is just like, oh, that's for me, like that's for me. And so some of the experiences that you're thinking about that you need to engage with the community that you're trying to engage with, in this case, the Hispanic community, think about those things and write them into the job description, so that people, when they look at those things, they're going to say, oh, okay, that's for me. And that's how, honestly, I got into organizing, because a lot of times as people of color, we look at things and we're like, okay, they're not going to hire me for that. That's not actually for me. Like, that's for somebody else. That's not that they're not looking for me to help here. And when you include the things that the kind of lived experience that you're looking for into the job description, as someone who's hiring, as someone who's trying to be more present, you start to kind of target the people that you want to join your team and that have those diverse experiences that we're talking about. And I think and the other thing that I'll just say, as you all think about questions that you might have, is that as you can see kind of from this conversation, a lot of this work is it's not like a prescription, as Veronica said. It's not like you do this and then you do this and do this and then you're going to have perfect community engagement. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of listening. It's a lot of trying something and going back and trying it again. And even though, for a very long time we had Hispanic staff and we were working really hard to engage the Hispanic community, it took almost 2 years to really get our legs under us with actually having really good engagement in the Hispanic community. And that feels important to say here, is that it's not a perfect science, but it is trial and error, and it is coming back, and not just, a lot of times the prevailing knowledge is to just give up and say, okay, we tried to engage them, they don't care about, right? That's the prevailing knowledge, is like when a community is not easily engaged, or even when you put a lot of work into it and they don't come, you're like, okay, fine, we tried, we did the work, here it is, here's our receipts, we're done. We're not going back, we're not doing that anymore, because we put so much work into this. But the real formula, if there is one, is you're going to try, you're going to fail, you're going to learn, and you're going to try again. You're going to fail some more, you're going to learn, you're going to try again, and you're going to keep doing that until you get to that place. But if you think of failure as an opportunity to learn, then it changes the perspective, and then you have something to move with on the next try, and you have learnings from that. And so I think that's also important too, is that we're not saying there's a formula, but we are saying that there are some tips that can be offered to do better in this space. So back to questions or things that you all would like to know about our process and how we've tried to do this well.
And as you are a little quiet or you're thinking about questions or maybe I don't see them, I just want to point out that there is beauty and mutuality. It's not one over the other. At Virginia Community Voice, we have different live experiences and they all bring something to the value. I experience to be undocumented, but we have somebody in the same team right here. And I'm so proud, Flo, we are from the same country. Our experience, and we are very similar ages. We have completely different perceptions in terms of politics, in terms of how we experience dictatorships. Absolutely different in the same country. However, we love each other, we respect each other, and those two experiences combined really do the combo. It's not like, hey, I'm gonna exclude you because you haven't experienced abuse or hardship. No, we don't do reverse discrimination. To the contrary, we just want to open honest, genuine spaces where we can all grow. We cannot also do just the reverse, like I said, reverse. We are discriminate against you because you have not experienced this. But however, put the live experience on a high platform because it is incredibly important and it's invisible, and you will have immense success if you really want to be successful and you have the resources. I encourage you to put the resources in there. Like, don't put the resources necessarily in translation, and don't put the resources necessarily in demo and say, well, we only have people with master's degree. You will do incredibly better when you do, like, we have people that have lived experience, because that lived experience it cannot be replaced. It's not the same coming to the United States in an airplane than having to walk for 5 months in the jungle and experience death and other things. And that applies for any other experiences. Like, I don't know what it means to be a slave. I don't know exactly what it means to do certain things, but I don't know at all. I cannot possibly put me in that situation. And if I go to a space genuinely, I will get something out of it, and people that are there with me will also. So I encourage us to think not as a burden. Engagement is not a burden. It's a beautiful job. We have awesome opportunities, and we all get something out of it. And it was, I think, a question I can't recall, but it's a bit the nature versus nurture as well. And we need them both. We need facts and feelings. We need both, yin and yang, which is not one over the other, right?
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question here, Elise. She says, does anyone have advice for I can't say that word, intermediary organizations working with community organizations who jump to the translation and feel like that's the most important part of engaging with the communities? Is one approach offering them trainings like this? That's an excellent question, Elise. Yes. And actually, Veronica is quite an expert in that topic. She has her own practice when it comes to training folks to understanding the intricacies and nuances of relating to a Latino community beyond translation. And so trainings are highly recommended, and it's very much related to what Leah was saying earlier, to the commitment to learning a different way of relating, that it may not come, in a month or 2 or 6. It may take a little time. So part of the commitment is to get these trainings and to learn from others who have done it first and for longer. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a great, honest question. I have lived that life myself. I have translated for the justice system, educational system, all kind of system, immigration, you name it. I probably done it, but there is the big barrier. There also the fact that people are, we have a culture of efficiency where we must demonstrate quick results. Like, people want to put goals for this year, visible, measurable goals. And I think slowly but surely we discover that approach it's very limited, and it can be incredibly taxing, and it's not the most efficient. So I do think that we all will be more successful as we continue to train each other and to work through those barriers. But it's the immediate, like, the survival thing. Let's just translate. We definitely have a pretty incredible team here. I say it with honesty and pride. So don't be scared of bringing that honesty with you, and to go further with consulting and with trainings, because it will make a difference. If we think about what will make a difference in 3, 5, 10 years, that is what will make a difference, actually. There seemed to be another question there. I can't quite see it.
Oh, just commiserating over grant applications.
Yes, exactly. I was gonna say, like, grants, like we could have a whole nother conversation about how to work this into grants. And if you wanna if you wanna reach out to us and have a conversation about thinking about that process, we would be happy to do that. We have an incredible team around that kind of thing, and making and building the time, because really it's time that you need to build in. But I realize we're at 12:59. We have 1 minute left. Thank y'all for being here. And if there are more questions and more opportunities for to learn in this space, we're happy to continue to provide content here, and also just reach out to us if there's conversations that you want to have more deeply about this. We only have a short amount of time, so we try to pack a lot in, but we're always here as a community to try and give more space. And so you can see the slide here where Flo is here, and our community, our Blueprint team is here for you if you need it. Reach out, and we hope to see you at the next First Wednesdays. Thank y'all so much. Was there anything that y'all wanted to add about upcoming trainings and things?
Yeah, so before you all go, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm reading the chats, and yeah, thank you all so much. If you have questions, I guess we forgot to put my email there. Sorry about that. I'm putting it on the chat. So if you need to talk to me, please reach out. We have several training options. We're working on a board training now, and we're definitely toying with the Linux engagement opportunity for either training or coaching and all of that. So please reach out to me if you have more questions. And
but we also have a public training coming up, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Dana. So we actually have public training, which is the introduction to equity engagement. I know that a lot of you have attended, but whoever hasn't, this is a free training. It's a 2-hour training with very specific tools to kind of learn how to use our community engagement model that Leah created. And it is I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I thought somebody would say something. And it's centered around lifting and centering the voices of marginalized communities within this community engagement. So you are invited. I'm trying to look at the date. Is it on the 18th? Yeah, it is on the 18th. So the 18th from 12 to 2. For whoever wants to participate, you can just find it on the link on our website. Yeah. Oh, Dana put everything on the chat already, so there we go. So you can just go on that link.
Just want to point out, it's been a pleasure seeing you here and talking about this topic. It's just I'm incredibly privileged to be here alive today. So thanks, everyone, and thank you, Virginia Community Voice, as well. I'm privileged to work here. Excited and happy, and I want to share it with everyone.
Oh, thanks, Vero. Feel the same way.
Thank you.